Support for this podcast comes from the St. Alphonsus Neuroscience Institute, offering technology to provide treatment for neurological, neurosurgical, and neurointerventional conditions. This includes a dedicated neurotrauma ICU for critical care of the brain or spine and a 24/7 stroke team. More at stalphonsus.org.
Start the new year with a commitment to independent journalism. When you become a supporter of Boise State Public Radio, you ensure deeper reporting, stronger investigations, and the trusted coverage you rely on every day.
I'm very grateful for all of the balanced reporting, and I will continue to be a sustaining member.
Your gift keeps fact-based news available to everyone in our region. Begin the new year by becoming a donor at boisestatepublicradio.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is the Connectorate's Idaho's Daily News. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. A lot of parents were up very early this morning trying to get a special tax credit if their child was going to a private school. We have that story, plus Idaho Senator Jim Risch telling his colleagues they should be praising the president more. It is Thursday, and it's the 15th of January. Here we go with today's stories. Idaho's universities largely comply with state laws passed over the last few years, banning diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in government. And that is according to an audit obtained by Boise State Public Radio. James Dawson tells us more.
According to the audit, none of Idaho's four-year colleges use DEI principles in their admissions, nor did state funds pay for such activities. Auditors found no potential violations by Lewis Clark State College. University of Idaho had 3 education courses flagged. The school's president, Scott Green, says he's since asked for compliance waivers from the State Board of Education for 2 classes related to an optional certificate, but he says the other course is required for national accreditation. Green says references to diversity in the faculty handbook are outdated and are being revised. Another was approved by student government. Auditors cited 2 Boise State offices as possibly being related to DEI. Interim President Jeremiah Shin says their websites are also outdated and no longer reflect the work they do. He says those programs are open to everyone. And ISU had 3 job postings that included DEI requirements, which President Robert Wagner says have been removed and will not be applicable in the future. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
A Boise man, already a convicted felon, is back behind bars, charged with unlawful possession of a firearm. Boise police say they obtained a search warrant for a home on the 1200 block of Hartman Street. Inside, they found 51 firearms. Several were missing serial numbers. 10 were confirmed stolen from homes in Boise and Washington State. The investigation continues. 43-year-old Anthony Bueller of Boise is behind bars. At the Ada County Jail, he's being held on $250,000 bail. Today's the first day for eligible parents to apply for Idaho's Parental Choice Tax Credit. Limited credits are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. The State Tax Commission says they're going to process applications in the order they're received. You'll remember House Bill 93, which passed through the legislature last year. It offers families of non-public school students up to $5,000 or $7,500 for students with special needs to offset education expenses. The program is capped at $50 million. So, as Idaho Ed News reports, if there were applicants and all of them claimed a $5,000 credit, then the top number of applicants would be 10,000 students. The application window is open until March 15th. Idaho Senator Jim Risch says Secretary of State Marco Rubio has assured him that currently there are no U.S. armed forces in Venezuela. Risch said he asked the White House to clarify whether the operation that led to the capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro is over and that there is no longer any U.S. hostility in Venezuela. This all coming as the U.S. Senate is about to vote on a war powers resolution that would prevent future military actions in that nation. Standing on the floor of the Senate this week, Risch said his colleagues should be thanking the president and that the resolution is the wrong message.
Let's resolve that the President of the United States is to be commended for what he did. My fellow senators, vote no on this resolution. This is nothing more than a slap in the face of the President of the United States. It cannot accomplish something that does not exist.
Senator Risch is the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and as for that letter from the Secretary of State to Risch, it was obtained by the news organization The Hill on Wednesday. At the Capitol, all eyes on the Idaho Legislature's Budget Writing Committee. The Joint Finance Appropriations Committee is already elbow-deep into its chief task, setting a spending plan for fiscal year 2027. The first challenge, though, is dealing with a pretty good-sized deficit in the current fiscal year.
And so that's going to be the really key impact and the decision-making process for this committee to think about. What do you do with the budget in the short term that sets you up for long term, or vice versa? How do you address long-term growth with putting things together in a way that uses cash balances or whatever? So you're going to have some decision-making.
Keith Bybee is the man with the numbers. He's manager of budget and policy analysis at Legislative Services.
When the legislature left town last spring, we were at $6.063 billion of revenues available for appropriations.
But the revenues have been significantly short this fiscal year. That means cuts and holdbacks.
The legislature has some decision-making to be done, to put it lightly, this year. And the question for this committee and for your colleagues in the bodies is how to address the current projected deficit or budget shortfall, as it were.
JFAC reconvenes at 8 a.m. And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. What do you say we get back together on Friday? And in the meantime, sign up for our Legislative Roundup newsletter. It's a great way to make sure you don't miss anything from what's going on at the State House. You can sign up for it at boisestatepublicradio.org. For now, to you, thanks for listening.
Looking for another podcast to listen to? Check out The Nature of Idaho from our partner station KISU in Eastern Idaho. Join hosts Peter Pruitt and Dr. Leif Tapanilla as they share fascinating stories from the Gem State's great outdoors, celebrating Idaho's wildlife, landscape, and natural wonders. That's The Nature of Idaho from KISU. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.